Well, earlier this week, the motorsport fraternity in South Africa were taken somewhat by surprise with the news of the effective collapse of the Bankfin Touring Car Series. I would say, Jonathan, it was more than surprised. It was a shock.
It was an absolute shock, really, when Audi said they were going to pull out, and it seemed to roller coaster from there, and then everybody said, well, we're all going to be out of it. I think Nissan took the next step, saying if they were only going to race against a couple of the manufacturers, they'd be out. So it really has fallen apart. I believe there are moves afoot to actually create a new series for next year, but it's all happened so late, and as you say, so suddenly as well.
Yeah, the situation was really that both BMW and Opel were left high and dry, because after Audi's withdrawal a week ago, then Nissan came, and then there was nothing else for them to do.
Well, I think there's big disappointment, especially from BMW, because their car was actually coming out of the factory next week. They've already imported a lot of equipment from Europe already. It's an expensive exercise, and they're left high and dry, and they're wondering what is going to happen for next year, and will they be able to use those parts? So it is going to be an interesting situation, and maybe we'll ask the teams how they feel about it.
Let's do that. Let's go down to the pit lane and we find out the reaction from all the various teams.
Chairman of the Touring Car Association, Graham Duxbury, is with me now. Graham, what actually happened this week?
This week? Well, touring cars, the decision from TOCA in consultation with all the manufacturers is to stop touring cars. So today is the last ever touring car race. But I think what is really exciting is what is going to happen next year, because there's some fantastic plans in place, and I think that motorsport in general is going to benefit from this decision. Touring cars around the world has become a little less popular for various reasons, and a lot of that offshoot doesn't come down to South Africa as it did in the past. So that's really, that's it, that's the end. But I'm not a historian. That one's finished and there's a new era beginning. Was it Audi's decision that really was the catalyst in this? Yes, I think they were the first people to go, but I think there was lots of talk from other people as well, and finally it gets to a point where you don't want to have a lame formula. You know, I didn't really think that 3 manufacturers was enough. It's a premier formula, it's the best formula we've had in South Africa in many, many years, and to now only run with 3 manufacturers wasn't a sensible way of going, in my opinion.
Janelle, you're the most successful touring car racing driver in South African history, 4 times winner, you won again this year. You must be very disappointed about what's gone on over the last week or so.
Yeah, I'm extremely disappointed. I mean, I think it's a big blow to South African motorsport in a whole, that the whole series has had to come to an end. I hope we can get something new out of this and something better out of it. I hope so, just for the sake of motorsport, because with motorsport being in the shape that it's in at the moment, it's not a good thing that any sort of motorsport in this country dies. And it's a sad day for us today, but we'll have to make the best out of it and look into the future and try to make the best of what we've still got.
Well, one of the most successful teams in touring cars has been the Opel team, and the manager, Mike Carroll, is with me at the moment. Mike, bit of a shock this week?
Definitely was a bit of a shock to us. We're now in a position where we've been challenging Nissan very strongly the last few races. In actual fact, we won the Manufacturers' Cup at the last 2 race meetings. We were looking forward to a very good championship next year. We were certainly hoping to be able to beat Nissan next year, and we felt that they were going to put up a very good show again, obviously, and we thought that the show would be fantastic to the spectators, you know, with us running 3 competitive cars and Nissan 3 competitive cars. BMW had some fantastic plans for next year as well, so we felt the series was really going to take a step up in terms of being the showpiece of saloon car racing.
Sean, you've been in touring cars since 1994. You were champion in that year. It's now got to the situation, no more touring cars for next year. How do you feel about that?
I'm very sad. You know, I've been here a long time. I think I've done my bit, and I've had some good years with BMW and some bad years, I must add, as well. This year in particular wasn't a great year for us, both myself and BMW. But in general, I think I've enjoyed the time in touring cars. I think Bankfin's been a great sponsor lately with touring cars, and you know, today is unfortunately the last race for touring cars. It's a sad thing for, I think, for all the drivers and the sponsors involved, you know. But so all good things come to an end, you know. And I suppose this is the day.
Another man who was champion in touring cars was engine Audi driver Terry Moss. Terry, you must be disappointed as well, the death of the formula?
There is a certain amount of disappointment, but one has to sort of bear in mind that when one door closes, 20 doors open. And the formula probably couldn't go on the way it was. The playing fields weren't all that level. And we saw competition, some of them ran away with it. the lead didn't change enough, and I think it was time for a change.
What went through Audi's mind in this decision? Were you part of that decision?
I was definitely not part of the decision, but I'm sure it's a business decision in that they had a vehicle which was designed for passenger lining, probably for autobahns and good passenger transport. And the design of the car was different to that of some of the other cars. I mean, the Audi is one of the top-of-the-range cars, and it needed a different set of rules so that we can compare apples with apples. We run a north-south engine. A lot of the other front-wheel drives run an east-west engine. And we were running to regulations that were set out for the east-west engines in cars like the Nissan and the Opel. The Audi needed a different set of regulations to be apple-for-apple sort of competition.
It's a Nissan 1-2-3 on the grid with 4-time champion Janelle de Villiers leading Mark Peters and Duncan Foss as they go through Vodacom corner on their parade lap, just ready to start this 15-lapper. Anthony Taylor is next to the Opel of Silvio Scribanti, then Sean van der Linde, Sean Watson-Smith, Dion Joubert, Etienne van der Linde and Terry Moss. In the pro car category, it is Richard Sorensen who has his first pole position of the season ahead of Irshad Jaffa, and then the two championship contenders, Marco Acuna and George Poseidnote, as we come under starters' orders. 15 laps ahead of us in this round 19 of the Bankfin Touring Car Championship. And the race is on. Janelle de Villiers leads the field from Mark Peters, and Peters goes into the lead. Mark Peters, no, that's Janelle de Villiers. Janelle de Villiers takes the lead through Continental Corner for the first time. There's a fairly strong wind blowing in from the west, and that's Mark Peters and Duncan Foss just looking at each other as they go into engine corner for the first time. One of the Audis goes a little bit wide further down the field. Terry Moss was complaining about the electrics on his car, and he had a very bad qualifying session. That's why he's so far down. There's his teammate. That's Anthony Taylor. There is Terry Moss. Here comes the Pro Car Brigade, and that is Richard Sorensen in the safe line BMW. Leading the field from Irshad Jaffa, then Marco Acuna and George Poseidnote.
Well, I think the man to watch here, number one, is Janelle de Villiers. He's going for an outright lap record here at Killarney. I don't think in the last year or so we've seen Janelle de Villiers ever being beaten at Killarney. He is going for an outright lap record. And Silvio Scribanti in the first of those Opels behind the Nissans, he's going to be a man to watch as well. He's only started in touring cars halfway through the season, and he really hasn't made an impression in this particular qualifying and this particular race. But it is a Nissan 1-2-3 as they end lap one. It's de Villiers, followed by Mark Peters, Duncan Foss, Silvio Scribanti, Anthony Taylor in the first of the Audis, Sean Watson-Smith lying second in the championship, and then the first of the BMWs, that's Sean van der Linde.
And let's not forget, Jonathan, that there is a huge battle for third position in the championship. Any of four drivers can still take it. And that's Dion Joubert, Duncan Foss, Mark Peters and Anthony Taylor are still in with a chance of finishing behind Sean Watson-Smith in the championship. And this is something for them to drive for. Of course, this is the penultimate round of the Bankfin Touring Car Championship for the year, and in fact forever.
Well, that's the disappointing part of touring cars. We've seen such exciting racing over the last, well, what is it, 6-7 years? Yeah. And for it to finish now, hopefully, as we were saying in the preview earlier, it's going to be something to look forward to for next year. But the man that everybody's looking after at the moment is Janelle de Villiers. He really is storming on what is his home circuit. He is Cape Town based. He's followed by teammate Mark Peters, and then the third of the Nissans. The team that really have been the most successful is Duncan Foss.
Watson-Smith going through past Anthony Taylor, as does Sean van der Linde and Dion Joubert. There's a problem with Anthony Taylor. He's going slowly, and Anthony Taylor is going to pull off. Well, this is the cap of a miserable season for Audi. Anthony Taylor did win once. He won at Killarney earlier this season. That was in July, and his teammate Terry Moss, of course, won at Pakisa as well, but that really were the only two good results for the team this year.
Well, Silvio Scribanti in the first of those Opels, he's definitely chasing the Nissans, but Janelle de Villiers rather walking away with it at the moment. He has already set the fastest lap of 1:17.716, and there is Terry Moss challenging Dion Joubert.
Well, that's only 0.2 of a second outside the lap record being held by Duncan Foss. He set it here at Killarney in May this year. Well, those three Nissans are just walking away from the rest of the field. Silvio Scribanti hanging on to that fourth position. Watson-Smith is down in fifth. And And he has got Sean van der Linde on his tail. There's Dion Jabez as well in the third of the Petronas Opel Vectras. They are on the third lap, coming into Vodacom corner. And Terry Moss in the background. But at the front, it is Duncan Foss in third position. He's challenging Mark Peters, and we know from experience that at Killarney, Mark Peters can make his car very wide. These two teammates, of course, still battling it out for third position in the championship.
And
this
here
is
are the pro cars. This is also a
car.
fine battle, Hendrik. In the BMW, Richard Sorensen. Then the development driver, Ishad Jaffa, in that Nissan Primera that used to be run earlier in the year by Colin Hasty. And then Marco de Cunha, who is driving another Nissan Primera, and they're having a fair old battle there.
Well, as we know, the touring car titles have already been decided, but not so is the case in the Pro Car Championship. Although Richard Sorensen is leading this race and Ishad Jaffa is in second position, they are not in the championship. There's Marco de Cunha leading by 6 points. The defending champion, George Besaidnout, and really all that de Cunha has to do here is to stay ahead of Besaidnout. He pulled away by an additional point because of the point scoring system for qualifying. You get 4 for a pole, 3 for second, and so on. De Cunha was in third position, so he scored 2 points, and George Besaidnout 1. So that means that the gap is in fact 7 points. We go back to the touring cars. And de Villiers,
Duncan Foss in the second, Nissan, Mark Peters, Silvio Scribanti, but this is where the battle is taking place. It's Watson Smith and van der Linde. Sean Watson Smith in the Opel is currently lying second, or is second in the championship behind de Villiers. In that BMW behind him, Sean van der Linde. Really, really trying very hard as Sean, and behind them Dion Joubert, and that's allowed Terry Moss to catch up just slightly in the first and only remaining Audi, and Etienne van der Linde in the second BMW just bringing up the back of the field there.
Well, I think that problem by Anthony Taylor earlier on in the race puts pay to his chances of possibly ending up third in the championship. Sean Watson-Smith, who's second in the championship, cannot be caught anymore. But Dion Joubert, Duncan Foss, Mark Peters now effectively, I think, are the three who are going to fight it out over these 2 rounds here today to finish third in the championship. And of course, with Nissan finishing first in the championship with de Villiers, they would dearly like to get Duncan Foss past Dion Joubert into third place as well to make it a Nissan 1 and 3.
Well, here's the train, 5th, 6th and 7th, and van der Linde has a look just maybe down the inside as they come into turn 1. That's not going to be the case. He's not going to get through there, and it's allowed Dion Joubert, and Terry Moss is right behind them now. This is really the battle. This is 2nd, 3rd and 4th. That's Foss, Peters and Scribanti, but this is where it's all happening, this battle for 5th position. Sean Watson-Smith, van der Linde, Dion Joubert, whose father owns the Killarney race circuit where we are today, and then Terry Moss, who's involved with the Port Elizabeth circuit. So the driver's getting into circuit management now.
Yeah, that car, Terry Moss's car, had its whole electrical system refitted last night, because after qualifying yesterday, he said the engine was just cutting out at various points on the circuit. Then he would bring it in and it would fire up, no problem at all. So after qualifying, he had it refitted completely.
Well, Dion Joubert made a move there on the inside, and it looks like he's got past van der Linde in that BMW. He's going to chase. Is van der Linde going to let him through? Well, it looks like he's got the inside line anyway.
Nice move there.
Just moved inside him, but Dion Joubert set that up on the corner before the straight. Lovely passing maneuver from Dion Joubert.
Absolutely, he knows the circuit like the back of his hand. This is his home circuit. He's spent many laps around the Killarney racetrack here in Cape Town. So Dion Joubert knows all the fine nuances of being able to go quickly here on Killarney. So
Silvio Scribanti is right behind Mark Peters there. See if he can get past.
Well, he's got an opportunity on the outside. He's going to try and outbrake Peters. Oh, contact between the two of them, and Scribanti just keeps his foot flat on the accelerator. Mark Peters is out of the race, it seems. There he is. So he's gone, and he won't be happy with that situation. That you can be sure of. I was expecting something to start happening towards the final part of the race. We are on the third and final 1/3 of this race, on lap 11 out of 15. And Jonathan, as we've seen so many times in the past, the race seems to settle down in the middle section, and then when we get to the final few laps, then then
all hell breaks loose.
I was just going to say, then all hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
We did unfortunately not pick up exactly what happened there between the Nissan and the Opel.
Well, the two marshals look there, and the second of the Opels, Dion Joubert, come through, and this is the battle.
Silvio Scribante is down in 8th, and Mark Peters is about 8 seconds further back in 9th position. In the Pro Car battle. While we're watching this battle for third, it is still Richard Sorensen from Marco de Cunha and George Poseidon fighting it out with Mark Strong.
Terry Moss gave him a bump and a bash, and
and almost the two BMWs go into each other.
That's right, and just spun him round. We said earlier that Terry was one of those guys who sort of barges his way through rather than overtakes, and that's exactly what he did there.
There's the Pro Car battle.
Sean Watson-Smith a bump.
Right, let's just catch our breath here. There's the Pro Car leader, that's Richard Sorensen, and here comes our race leader through, and he goes past Marco de Cunha. Brian Martin also opens up the door there. Here's the battle for third. It's still Dion Joubert and Sean Watson-Smith. De Villiers has 5.7 seconds over his teammate Duncan Foss at the front of the field. Right, this is Richard. No, that's in fact
George Poseidon,
Marco de Cunha.
Martin still. They've got Poseidon in the Primera. He was last year's Pro Car champion. And Brian Martin in the Toyota. And they're just about to be caught by the third and fourth place, Dion Joubert and Sean Watson-Smith. And that's going to be interesting at the bottom of this straight as to whether they actually get past, because the touring cars, of course, are so much quicker than the Pro cars. Here you see them go through, right through the middle. The two Opels go through between the Pro cars.
Right, now something has happened in the Pro car category. That is Marco de Cunha, in fact, is being... No, that's not. That's George Poseidon. And Brian Martin was very close to Marco de Cunha earlier on.
So that's the battle in the Pro cars for third position, George Poseidon and Brian Martin. And here come the two Opels. Very difficult in the Pro car category because all these Nissans are branded exactly the same, and you can never tell which of the touring. And there is, who is that? That's Sean Watson-Smith pulling off the circuit. He is now out of the race.
A failure of some kind. That's a pity for Sean Watson-Smith, who was fighting it out for third with his teammate.
And there's Mark Peters. Yep.
I suspect a lot of damage done to that car in that incident between him and Silvio Scribante.
Now, what happened there? Because that's... Oh, and somebody else is off there. That looks like Silvio Scribante. He's taken a spin as well, taking his second off. Mark Peters. Yep, a long walk back for Mark Peters. And there is Watson-Smith. He is off now. Was that an oil leak that maybe he put some oil down that Peters came off on? I really don't know what happened there. But Janelle de Villiers has completed 14 laps. Here he is, the 2000 champion.
Yep,
Four-time champion.
He is on his final lap now. This is lap 15. Oh, and that's Etienne van der Linde.
That's Etienne van der Linde. There must be oil or something.
Well, that's on the outside of Continental Corner. I'm sure that there is something on the track surface there. So this race can still end up very differently. There's Brian Martin in the black Havilland Toyota Corolla. There's Etienne van der Linde coming, rejoining the field. The car looks very sideways. There's his brother Sean van der Linde, former champion 1994. As they are coming up to complete lap 15 out of 15. Janelle de Villiers is coming to take his 10th victory of the season. 10 victories out of 19 races is a fantastic record. No wonder that he's four-time champion.
Absolutely, and racing on what he says is his favourite circuit, and he really has annihilated the field here in round 19 of the Bankfin Touring Car Series. Janelle de Villiers takes the win in his BP Nissan Primera, and aren't we accustomed to that this year, Hendrik?
Indeed, Jonathan. He's 10th of the season, ahead of his teammate Duncan Foss. Terry Moss drops to behind Sean van der Linde. He was penalised 5 seconds for bumping into van der Linde, but the man who was flying was four-time champion de Villiers.
I tried to do about 12 qualifying laps there, just to feel the last excitement of these cars, because it's so exciting to drive these cars, and when you drive them on the edge, it's just such a thrill. And it was just wonderful to drive those 15 laps as hard as I could. And I'm glad that we could end the year with another win. I know there's another race left, but we'll see what we can do in that one.
This is the swan song race in the Bankfin Touring Car Championship. And once again, it's a Nissan 123 with, once again, four-time champion Janelle de Villiers, who leads the field ahead of his teammate Duncan Foss. Mark Peters on the second row. Next to him is Silvio Scribante with Anthony Taylor. Terry Moss next up.
then Dion Joubert, Etienne van der Linde, Sean van der Linde, and Sean Watson-Smith. In pole position in the pro car category, surprise, surprise, Irshad Jaffa, who's been very strong but had a gearbox problem in his previous race, and we are under starters' orders. 15 laps of action ahead of us. Now, are we going to see action in this race? We are expecting that. 3 abreast as they go into Continental Corner for the first time. Some bumping and barging going on there, but Janelle de Villiers has gone through safely. For the rest, I'm not so sure.
Well, it was, oh gosh, there's a huge accident, and the 2 Audis have taken each other out, and that was what we were expecting was going to happen. Carnage, absolute carnage.
Let's just have another look at that. This is from Sean van der Linde's car. He's got Dion Joubert just ahead of him. On the outside is Sean Watson-Smith in the other Opel. And they go through Continental Corner. He's already gone past his brother Etienne van der Linde, and there's contact between van der Linde and Joubert, and he pushes him into Watson-Smith. There's absolute carnage as the car as well. What a way to start this race. Another look. This is from Silvio Scribanti's car. He's pushed to the outside of Continental Corner. The 2 Audis are through. Just ahead of them, they've got Mark Peters. He's sandwiched between Anthony Taylor on the right-hand side. Terry Moss on the inside. Contact between Peters and Taylor. And Taylor into Terry Moss. 2 Audis crash into each other. Meanwhile,
we go back to 3rd position. The field has absolutely been annihilated. We've lost Mark Peters. We've lost Silvio Scribanti. We have lost Dion Joubert, and Sean Watson-Smith is still going, I believe, but he's about 20 seconds or so behind the rest of the field. But there's a bit of bodywork on Sean van der Linde's car and Terry Moss van der Linde's car, and Terry Moss stays ahead of the 2 BMWs.
these are really the also-rans this season. In fact, everybody but Nissan have been also-rans this season. Opel came through strong towards the latter half of the season. Moss is defending against Etienne van der Linde. Etienne van der Linde has got the red side mirrors, and Sean van der Linde, the blue ones. Those are the ones. That's the way to distinguish them as we go back to the pro car battle.
No, this is nice.
George Poseidon on the inside. Marco Acuna. That's Brian Martin. The Haviland Toyota Corolla.
Whoa, and Poseidon goes wide, and bang, they hit into each other. There goes Brian Martin. He's off. And what's happening there? Oh,
and that's John Craig. John Craig coming through the silver-coloured Nissan Sentra. I tell you what, this is
Martin's all over the place. What is going on? Well, and look at that back wheel.
Look at that rear wheel. Yeah,
he is not going to continue a lot longer with that.
He's not had anything illegal to do. I promise you. That's the rear wheel of his that's doing the shopping trolley thing for him.
Yes, that's Brian Martin, who set the fastest pro car lap. That's only a 1600 Corolla, and in the last race he set the fastest lap. So fastest lap in this race so far with a 17.980 is Duncan Foss. Irshad Jaffa locks the wheels. Is that going to let Marco de Cunha through?
I think Marco de Cunha, in fact, is in the lead.
You're quite right, Murray.
As soon as possible. We're sorry about these technical problems. We're doing our very best to sort them out, and we'll return to normal transmission as soon as possible.
Championship also leads the pro car battle. Let's go back to this battle for third. This is Terry Moss versus the 2 Audis, BMWs, and now Sean van der Linde has gone past into 4th position. His brother Etienne has let him through.
Well, we can hear there's one of the Opels coming out of the pit. Terry Moss using all of the curb. He braked into the shell corner, and there's Sean van der Linde. What's going to happen here? There's bodywork going flying, and this is always going to happen. Dion Joubert, who's back on the circuit, but we wait for that battle between the Audi and van der Linde's got through. Sean van der Linde has got through. He's got past Terry Moss.
Meantime, it's still the Nissan 1-2 at the front of the field. They are some 8 seconds ahead of this battle for third position, now led by Sean van der Linde. And knowing Terry Moss the way I do, he is not going to be satisfied with that, and he will definitely come back. Have you heard the crowd's reaction from the start of this race? The crowd have been going absolutely mad seeing the action. Now, do we have a safety car? Yes,
Yes,
we've got
we
the
do.
safety car out.
Well, that's exactly what they should have done, because otherwise Janelle de Villiers and Duncan Foss were racing away with this race, and they need to bring it back. The crowd, we've got a huge crowd here at Killarney today. They want to see some racing, they want to see some action, and the two Nissans were absolutely running away with it.
Ready to get going again. 5 laps have been completed, and the safety car pulls off the road. He has let the two Nissans of Janelle de Villiers and Duncan Foss to slot in behind him. The green flag waves, and the racing is on. De Villiers from Foss. Now they're all together again. There are still 9 more laps to go in this race, so plenty of action still to be expected.
Well, Duncan Foss has got ahead of his teammate Janelle de Villiers, and that mightn't be a bad thing, because de Villiers carrying 50 kilograms, allowed the BMWs up as well. Van der Linde, Sean, that is, takes the wide line. The Audis are going to be the ones to watch, as are the Opels. The 3 Opels coming from the back. They've got to overtake the Pro Car field, but it's going to be interesting to see whether those 3 Opels can come through. I predict a bit of carnage on this race. And already it's the two Nissans of Duncan Foss and Janelle de Villiers who are ahead. They've gone back into their lead position. They're followed by Sean van der Linde, Etienne van der Linde, Terry Moss in the O-engine Audi, and then looks like a very sideways Audi behind them as well. But the Nissan's pulling out again.
Right, Jonathan, we've just been told that, in fact, those laps behind the safety car will not count. In other words, it's going to be a full 15-lap race of racing action. So effectively a 17-lap race with those 2 laps that were spent behind the safety car. So now, young Sean van der Linde, did I say young?
Yeah.
He's pulled away from his brother Etienne, his younger brother Etienne. Terry Moss's car.
Terry Moss watched it. Oh, gosh, he took a dive down the inside. There's a very bent Terry Moss Audi there. I think a little bit of over-enthusiasm in the first couple of...
Sorry, Jonathan, the 2 Opels have just passed Anthony Taylor. I think it's Anthony Taylor's car that is a very rearranged front bumper as Moss goes into Van der Linde.
As he did in the first race, and honestly, you can almost see the body language in Terry, the way he's going to barge his way through. He's obviously, the car's going to the panel beater. It might be going to a museum as well after, with this being the last touring car race. But
Terry Moss probably too.
Yes. But the Opels, it's going to be interesting. Terry Moss is all out to make this as entertaining as possible for the crowd. And as we said earlier, a huge crowd here at Killarney, and absolute brilliant spectacle they put on today.
De Villiers down the inside, he's got him. Janelle de Villiers into the lead through Vodacom corner. They're coming up to complete lap 8 out of 17. That's 17 laps. So de Villiers back into the lead. Just behind him, Duncan Foss, who is embroiled in a battle for 3rd position in the championship.
Well, it really is amazing, the pace of these Nissans. Even with 50 kilograms, Janelle de Villiers and Duncan Foss are miles ahead. Here's Moss again. He's going to have another look at Etienne van der Linde. Let's keep on that, hopefully, and we can see how Terry is going to try and get past Etienne van der Linde. Well, he's on the outside this time. He took a dive around the inside lot. Yes, there he goes again. You're going to give him a little nudge? He does again.
Those 2 Opels are back in the race, as we said earlier on, Sean Watson-Smith and Dion Gilbert, but they are a lap down. They spent that time in the pits. So effectively, they are 1 lap behind this battle, although they've joined the party. Man, I tell you what, are they entertaining this huge Killarney crowd or what?
This is really going to be the one to watch, because Sean Watson-Smith is leading on Etienne.
It's not the place to do it.
And, well, yes, he managed it. There's that Dion Gilbert behind them. But the action is going to be when they catch Terry Moss. I really think it is.
All right, and Silvio Scribati is also in the race, but also a further lap down. So it's all a bit hectic at the moment. In the Pro Car category, Marco de Cunha is in the lead as Joubert going through.
Well, Dion Joubert on the passenger side of his car has got the most enormous dent in the door, but he seems to be getting the better of Sean Watson-Smith, the man who's 2nd in the championship. And And those Opals seem to be running in unison, side by side by side. And it's Joubert who manages to get through first, racing, of course, on his home circuit.
10 laps down, 5 still to go. That's the battle for the lead between Janelle de Villiers and Duncan Foss. Oh, and somebody's off. That's the veteran Opal of Scribanti. He gets back onto the track. That car's obviously not handling the way it should after that earlier incident. There goes Dion Joubert. And in the Pro Car battle, that is the battle for second. Marco Acuna leading. This is Richard Sorensen in the safe line BMW. He will not be happy. Damage to his car, quite obvious. After that earlier off in the race. And in the lead is Marco Acuna, amazingly lying in 5th position overall.
But it is a Nissan 1-2 at the moment. It's Janelle de Villiers and Duncan Foss, and crossing the line first, it is.
And Irshad Jaffa going around the outside of Continental Corner, trying to take that second place in Pro Car category, and he does so from John Craig. Irshad Jaffa must have had a problem earlier on in the race, because he seems to have found some pace now. Hard on the brakes there. John Craig is not going to let him go away. Here's our two race leaders on the inside of Richard Sorensen. Oh, and that's Terry Moss.
No, now, did we say that had to come? It had to come. We knew that Terry Moss was going to come off somewhere. Is Sean Watson-Smith there as well?
Well, we'll have to take a look once the dust settles. The two race leaders are on their final lap. Duncan Foss still leading Janelle de Villiers. They've got just a few more corners to go, coming up towards the front runners in the Pro Car category. There's Jaffa. He is in second position. Craig just behind him in third. They're moving over for Duncan Foss and Janelle de Villiers. They've only got one more corner to go.
And Jaffa is rather in the way there. This is going to be interesting as to what happens here. The two touring cars, of course, are a lot quicker, and that might have helped Duncan Foss. That has helped Duncan Foss. He's going to win this race now, I'm sure.
So Duncan Foss comes up to win the final Bankfin South African Touring Car Championship race here at Killarney in Cape Town.
There they go.
And the checkered flag is gone as we go back on board with Silvio Scribanti on the final lap. Oh, and he's off inside that corner. He's going to hit the wall. Silvio Scribanti ends his touring car career in a very, very nasty way. There's the result. Duncan Foss takes his first victory of the season. Marco Acuna clinches the Pro Car Championship, finishing 5th overall. What a way to end the race. And to end the touring car era, there is Silvio Scribanti. He seems to be okay. And champagne time for Marco Acuna, his very first senior title. And he thoroughly deserves that champagne.
Marco, second season in Pro Cars. Now you're the champion. How do you feel?
It's great. The season's been really hard. It's been tough the whole season, and it's a relief just to have won it now.
Big party tonight?
Definitely, Jonathan. Celebration till the early hours of the morning.
And an imitation of the Ferrari team after the Malaysian Grand Prix. Nissan with their green wig. Duncan Foss getting the taste of champagne for the first time this season. So there are the final point standings in the Bankfin Touring Car Championship, with third place going to Duncan Foss ahead of Dion Joubert and Anthony Taylor. Nissan gets the Manufacturers' Cup for the up team's time this season. Silver and green for them. Nissan taking it by a runaway margin over Opel, Audi and BMW.